All right, so today we're going to learn how to multiply decimals. So in multiplying decimals, I first want to set up my problem. So for instance, this one, I have 8 and 92/100ths times 5. Then my next step is I always want to count how many numbers I have behind decimals. So in this case, the only decimal I see is this one. And then when I count, I have 1, 2 numbers behind the decimal. So I'm going to put a 2 up here so I remember this is how many numbers I have behind the decimal. Now, next step, once I've done that, is I'm going to erase my decimal so I can solve it normally. Okay, so now I'm going to solve it normally. So 5 times 2 is 10. So 0 down here, carry the 1. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 1 is 46. So put the 6 down here, 4 up here. 8 times 5 is going to be 40, plus 4 is 44. So now my last step, now that I have figured that out, is to make sure I started with 2 numbers behind the decimal, so I need to end with 2 numbers behind the decimal. So I'm going to start it on this side of the 0, the farthest right, and I'm going to swoop it 1, 2 times, which means my answer would be 44 and 60/100ths. All right, so the second one, we have 6 and 43/100ths times 7 and 2/100ths, or sorry, 2/10ths. So one thing we want to pay attention to that I forgot to mention in this problem is when you line up your multiplying, you actually do not line up the decimals like you do in addition subtraction. When you're multiplying, you actually kind of want to write it like you would a multiplication problem, with the bottom number being the farmost right. Okay, so now my step 2 is always count how many numbers are behind the decimal. This time I count 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. Okay, then I'm going to look and see, then I'm going to erase my decimals. Okay, so I counted my 1, 2, 3 numbers behind decimals, and I'm going to erase them. And now I'm going to solve it normally. So we always start with the 1 in the ones place, the farthest right number. I'm going to do 2 times 3, which is 6. 2 times 4, which is 8. And 2 times 6, which is 12. Now, before I start multiplying my 7s, I need to add a 0. I call it sometimes a smiling Joe or a placeholder 0. And that will give us our place value because the 7 is in the tens place, not the ones place. So I'm going to do 7 times 3 first, which in this case is 21. Put the 1 down here, carry the 2. 7 times 4 would just be 7 more than 21, which is 28. Plus 2 is 30. Put the 0 down here, carry the 3. And then I have 7 times 6, which is 42, plus 3 is 45. Then lastly, I just add them. 6 plus 0 is 6. 8 plus 1 is 9. 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 5 is 6. And 4 plus nothing is 4. Lastly, I need to make sure I end with 3 numbers behind my decimal. So I'm going to put the decimal on the right of the 6, and I'll swoop it. 1, 2, 3 times to get 46 and 296/1000ths. Now, same here, we're going to set up our problem. 83 and 2/10ths times 5 and 2/10ths. Now again, I count how many numbers are behind the decimal. In this case, I have 1, 2 behind the decimal, so I'm going to put 2. Then I'm going to erase my decimals. And I'm going to multiply it like normal. So again, starting with the rightmost number, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 8 is 16. Then I do my placeholder 0. Then I do 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. And 5 times 8 is 40, plus 1 is 41. Then I'm going to add these together. 4 plus 0 is 4. 6 plus 0 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. And 4 plus 0 is 4. Lastly, I need to swoop it over 2 times. So I'm going to swoop it 1, 2 times. Okay, so my answer would be 432.64. I want you to try the last one on your own now, and then pause the video, try the last one on your own, and then check the video again for the answer. All right, let's try to answer the last one on your own now. Let's try to go over the last one now. So we have 7 and 51 hundredths times 12. Well, when I'm counting, I have 2 numbers behind the decimal, so I'm going to put a 2. Then I'm going to erase my decimals and multiply like normal. So starting with my 2, because it's the rightmost one. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Okay, then I'm going to do my placeholder 0, or Smiling Joe. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times 7 is 7. Good, and then all I do now is add them together. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 1 is 1. 5 plus 5 is 10. And 1 plus 1 plus 7 is 9. Finally, I just got to put my decimal back. Make sure there's 2 numbers behind the decimal at the end. Swoop it back 1, 2 times. And I have 90 and 12 hundredths, which has 2 numbers behind the decimal. So we are good.